You know how it is every time you look up, there's some new uh, mind-blowing AI announcement?
Oh, definitely.
It can feel like drinking from a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
What we really want is to cut through all that hype and figure out, what actually matters.
Mm,
Well, that's precisely what we're doing right here, right now. Consider this your rapid rundown on how we're actually measuring AI's progress.
exactly. We're going deep into a really critical area, AI benchmarks for 2025.
And our roadmap for this deep dive is an article from Desar Payai, AI Benchmarks for 2025.
Now, Does Our AI is this really interesting blog by Dr. Hari Thaplial.
Right.
And what struck me about Dr. Thaplial is just the sheer breadth of his expertise. I mean, he's not just steeped in AI and NLP,
No, it's quite diverse.
but he's also got advanced degrees in business, data science, economics, and he even explores Advaita Vedanta philosophy.
Wow.
You'd imagine that gives him a pretty unique perspective on the whole AI landscape, wouldn't you? It certainly suggests a depth, yeah. His blog aims to explore AI with that kind of depth, which aligns perfectly with what we want to do here.
Okay.
So for this session, our aim is really twofold. First, we want to clarify this term AI benchmark because, as the article points out, it can mean surprisingly different things depending on who you're talking to.
Right. That's confusing.
And second, we'll be looking at some of the key recent benchmarks that are really shaping how we understand just how far AI has come, especially as we look ahead to 2025.
Okay, so let's tackle this AI benchmark idea first. The article makes it clear right from the start that it's not, like, a single fixed thing.
That's a really important point to grasp. When someone mentions an AI benchmark, they could be referring to quite a few different aspects of evaluation. The article does a good job breaking down what a comprehensive AI benchmark setup usually involves.
Right. So at the core, you've got the task,
Yeah.
the specific problem the AI is trying to solve.
Mm.
Think about things like being able to tell what's in a picture,
Mm-hmm.
image classification,
Yep.
uh,
Generating human-like text translation.
translation, maybe even solving logical puzzles, reasoning tasks.
Precisely. And then comes the data set, which is the specific collection of information used to see how well the AI actually handles that task.
Okay, the data itself.
Yeah. Familiar examples include ImageNet for testing image recognition, Squad for seeing how well it can answer questions based on text,
Huh?
Dot2COO for identifying objects in images, or MMLU, which is massive and tests knowledge across a huge range of subjects.
And then how do we actually gauge how well it's doing? That's where metrics come in, right?
Exactly, metric.
We're talking about things like accuracy, how often it gets the right answer, or maybe the F1 score. That gives a balanced view.
Right, F1 balances precision and completeness, yeah.
Yeah.
For tasks like writing or translating, you might encounter metrics like the BLEU score or perplexity. And crucially, we can't forget about latency, how quickly the AI can produce an answer. Speed matters.
Definitely. Okay, task, data set, metrics. What else?
The protocol. This basically sets the rules for the evaluation.
The rules of the game.
Kind of, yeah. This covers how the data is divided, like for training and testing. Whether the AI gets a few examples to learn from first, that's few-shot learning,
Oh, right, versus zero shot.
or starts totally cold, which is zero-shot learning. And increasingly, how feedback from humans is actually incorporated into the assessment process.
Okay, that makes sense. And finally, the leaderboard.
The leaderboard, yeah. Most people are probably familiar with this idea. It's essentially just a ranking.
Like a league table for AIs.
Pretty much. It shows how different AI models perform on a particular benchmark, so you can make direct comparisons. The article mentions resources like Papers with Code and Hugging Face,
Huh?
which are sort of the go-to places for the AL community to see these rankings published.
Okay. So putting it all together then, the article emphasizes that when someone talks about an AI benchmark, they might just mean they used a specific data set, like we tested on ImageNet.
Right.
Or they could mean a whole evaluation framework, tasks, data, metrics, rules.
Exactly. A full suite. Or they might even just be talking about where a model sits on a leaderboard, its rank, or simply the general capability being tested, like, say, code generation.
That clears things up a lot. It's like saying you're evaluating an athlete. You could be talking about their 100-meter time, just one metric.
Yeah.
Or their overall performance in a whole decathlon, which is like the full suite of tests.
That's a very apt comparison, and the article uses Super GLUE as a tangible example of one of those comprehensive benchmark suites, specifically in the area of understanding language.
Okay, Super GLUE. Tell us a bit more about that one.
So Super GLUE includes a variety of tasks, all designed to test different facets of language understanding. For instance, It checks if an AI can determine if one piece of text logically implies another. That's textual entailment.
Okay.
It also tests if it can answer questions based on a given text passage, standard question answering, and if it can figure out when different words in a text are referring to the same person or thing. That's corference resolution.
Got it. Different skills.
Exactly. And it uses specific data sets for each of these tasks, things like multi-RC, record, and bool Q. And it has established metrics like accuracy, F1 score, and exact match to measure how well the AI performs.
Right.
So Super GLUE is a good illustration of that more comprehensive approach to benchmarking language understanding. Now, if you compare that to just, say, seeing how well a language model completes a sentence on a single data set, you can really see the difference in scope, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes the distinction much clearer. So now let's get to what's really grabbing attention. What are some of the key AI benchmarks that have emerged more recently? The article highlights those focused on large language models, particularly those from the last couple of years, right? 2022 to 2024.
Yes, and these are largely driven by research and have become, pretty widely recognized within the AI community. The article helpfully groups them into categories, which I think makes it easier to spot the current trends and how we're evaluating these complex AI systems.
Okay, categories sound good. Let's start with chat and multi-turn preference. What are some of the notable benchmarks there?
Well, MT Bench is a significant one. It actually uses large language models themselves to act as judges.
Oh, interesting. AI judging AI.
Kind of, yeah. Evaluating how well other LLMs perform in conversational scenarios that go back and forth multiple times.
Yeah.
Then you've got Arena Hard.
Arena hard?
Yeah, it draws on real-world chatbot interactions from the LMS chatbot Arena, but it focuses specifically on the more complex, challenging conversational exchanges.
So the tough cases.
Exactly. Alpagable takes a different approach. It uses GPT-4 to automatically assess how well a model follows instructions by basically determining its win rate against other models.
Okay, automatic scoring.
And then Elmarina directly assesses how helpful, harmless, and honest LLMs are by incorporating feedback directly from humans, which is something that's increasingly seen as absolutely essential.
Right. It sounds like we're moving beyond just checking if a chatbot can give a factual answer and really trying to understand how good and maybe how safe it is to actually interact with.
That's exactly the shift. The next category is reasoning exams, and this is where we're really seeing benchmarks push the sort of cognitive abilities of AI.
This sounds like serious testing. What are some examples here, like actual exams?
Pretty much. AGI Evil is designed to see how well AI models can perform on actual human professional exams, things like the LSAT, SAT, GRE,
Wow.
the kinds of tests that are meant to measure real-world reasoning skills in people. Then there's Gaokao Bench, which focuses on the incredibly challenging and wide-ranging Chinese National College entrance exam.
That's notoriously difficult, isn't it?
Extremely. And Guy is particularly interesting. It's all about scientific reasoning. It requires the model to not only have scientific knowledge, but also to be able to find relevant information from external sources like scientific papers or Wikipedia.
So you need to do research.
Kind of, yeah. It has to retrieve info, put it together, synthesize it, and then use that to answer natural science questions. What's really insightful about Gaia, I think, beyond just testing knowledge recall, is that it forces the AI to engage with the messy reality of information retrieval and synthesis. These are skills that are absolutely crucial for any AI that aims to genuinely reason and problem solve in the real world.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a move away from purely internal knowledge checks towards demonstrating active intelligence gathering.
Wow, that does sound like a major step up in what we're asking these AIs to do.
It is. We also have RRC AGI, which is a tougher version of the original abstraction and reasoning corpus, really aiming for more advanced general intelligence.
Oh, right.
Math and GSM-8K Hard are focused on really deep mathematical reasoning and more challenging grade school math problems, respectively. And MMLU Pro.
A harder MLU.
Exactly, a more difficult version of the standard MMLU. And it was even used to benchmark GPT-4 Turbo, which gives you an idea of its complexity. You can see a clear trend here, I think. These newer reasoning benchmarks like AG Evil and Gaia are intentionally designed to move beyond simply recalling facts. They test the AI's ability to apply knowledge, solve novel problems, even engage in something like scientific inquiry capabilities that were, frankly, largely out of reach for previous generations of AI.
So a real emphasis on AI tackling complex academic and scientific challenges. Okay, the next category mentioned is agents and tools. This suggests we're looking at AI that can actually do things, interact more.
Precisely. Agent Bench is designed to evaluate AI agents that have multiple skills and can operate across different simulated environments, testing versatility.
Hmm.
Tool Bench assesses how effectively LLMs can make use of external APIs and tools to accomplish tasks like, can it use a calculator app or book a flight through an API?
Oh, practical stuff.
Very practical. And Web Arena focuses on complex tasks for web browsing agents, like navigating websites to achieve a specific goal. So yeah, we're moving from just talking and understanding to actually acting and interacting, at least in digital environments for now.
It's like we're moving from the AI being a passive recipient of information to something that can actively go out and get things done. Okay, what about multimodal benchmarks? Handling different types of data.
Yes, these are designed to test models that can handle more than one type of data input, like both images and text together. M3 exam combines image and text inputs for questions that resemble exams, but where you need both modalities.
Okay.
And real-world QA tests the AI's ability to reason about space and physics using visual information from real-world scenarios. Think about understanding a picture of a room and answering questions about object positions or potential interactions.
That makes total sense as AI evolves to interact with the world around us in a more, well, comprehensive way.
It becomes increasingly important, yeah, especially as AI systems get more integrated with the physical world through things like robotics or autonomous systems.
Definitely. The article also mentions bias truth safety benchmarks. This is clearly a really important area of evaluation.
Absolutely critical. Truthful QA, as the name implies, measures whether models have a tendency to generate misinformation or, falsehoods.
Right.
And this just highlights the crucial need to evaluate not just how accurate AI is, but also how reliable and safe its outputs are for people to use.
Couldn't agree more. And then finally, we have coding benchmarks.
Yes, Human Eval, which came out of OpenAI, is sort of a standard benchmark now for evaluating how well LLMs can write Python code from descriptions.
Okay.
Code Eval and Human Eval X then extend this to assess their capabilities in generating code in multiple programming languages, not just Python.
It's really fascinating to see how these benchmarks cover such a broad range of AI capabilities now. You mentioned Gaia particularly stood out to you earlier. What makes that one so interesting again?
Well, for me, what's truly compelling about Gaia is that it specifically tests scientific reasoning and the ability of the AI to actively retrieve and synthesize information from real-world sources. It's not just relying on its internal training data.
Right, that active component.
Exactly. It feels like a significant step towards evaluating a more robust and adaptable form of intelligence, something closer to how humans solve complex problems.
And MMLU and ARC are also highlighted as important foundational benchmarks, still relevant.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, MMLU, with its vast coverage of academic subjects, has become a kind of standard for measuring the general knowledge base of large language models. It's a broad check.
Uh-huh.
And ARC, the abstraction and reasoning corpus, with its focus on reasoning over provided abstract patterns and facts, remains a key benchmark for evaluating a more fundamental aspect of intelligence, the ability to think logically and generalize from limited examples.
So looking at all these different categories we've discussed, chat, reasoning, agents, multimodal, bias safety, and coding, what does this collection tell us about the direction of AI evaluation right now? Where's the focus?
Well, if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, I think the sheer variety of these new benchmarks really signals a strong movement towards evaluating more advanced and, frankly, more practical AI abilities.
Beyond just pattern matching.
Exactly. The increased focus on reasoning and tackling harder tasks, like those exams or the Gaia benchmark, indicates that the field is aiming for AI that can do more than just recognize patterns or regurgitate info. It's about AI that can truly think and solve complex problems.
Right.
And the emergence of benchmarks for agents and tools, that reflects the growing ambition to create AI that can actively participate and interact with the real world, or at least the digital world, using external resources effectively.
Okay, so to wrap up our deep dive then, we've learned that an AI benchmark isn't just one single thing. It's more like a standardized toolkit,
Yeah, a toolkit's a good way to put it.
a way to measure how well AI performs, with key ingredients like the task itself, the data used, how we measure success, the metrics, the rules of the test, the protocol, and often how the results are ranked on a leaderboard. And we've looked at a whole range of recent benchmarks, from those assessing conversational skills and preferences
Like MT Bench or Marina.
to advanced reasoning on exams and scientific problems.
AG Evil, Gaia.
The ability to act like an agent using tools,
Agent Bench, Doorbell.
handling different kinds of data like images and text together, checking for safety and truthfulness, and even writing code.
Precisely. Understanding these core components and the specific focus of these recent benchmarks gives us a really valuable perspective, I think, on where the field is headed and the specific capabilities that researchers are actively trying to evaluate and ultimately improve.
So thinking about all these different ways we're putting AI to the test, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Which of these types of benchmarks will ultimately be the most significant? Or maybe give us the clearest picture of the future of AI? Is it reasoning? Is it agency?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It's definitely food for thought as we keep watching this incredibly fast-moving field. If you're interested in digging into this further yourself, the Das RPI blog is an excellent resource, offering more insights from Dr. Staplio.